Welcome to this luminous event on a radiant Berkeley morning. I can tell you this is the 5th time I've done commencement here, and you have the tremendous pleasure of having the very best weather we have ever had for a commencement. It is usually like a rotisserie in here, and gets worse as the morning goes on, hence the straw hats and hence the cleverly designed parachute awnings there. But this is fantastic. And you have no idea how good you people look. So I'm here to tell you, my name is Ed Wasserman. I'm the Dean of the Graduate School of Journalism. I want to find out a little something about you. Now, if you're a parent, will you raise your hands? Well, bravo to you. And let me ask, if people from overseas, where? All right, just shout out, where are you from? France? Sorry? France? England? Kenya? Kenya, Jambo. Now from within the U.S., East Coast? All right. How far away? Boston? Cape Cod, all right. Maine. Virginia. Where, Virginia? All right, Virginia Beach. And how about the South? Southeast? Georgia. That qualifies. Midwest? Mississippi. Fantastic. And how about the great state of California? Got anybody here from there? Fantastic. Well, Las Vegas. I'm sorry. All right, Vegas. Well, this is terrific. I want to do a special shout out for the mothers here. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and we don't want the splendor and magnificence of this event to overshadow the more important event, which is Mother's Day. So I'd ask for some applause for mothers who are here, mothers who are gone, and mothers to be. Well, I'm going to say a few words about the excellence of our graduates and their instructors and about the world our graduates will enter, but for now, I say to the parents, be proud. You want to be nice to them also, because they're all budding memoir writers. And I'll tell you something else. We do a lot of work in visual journalism, so they also are pretty deft hand at re-editing those home movies. So you want to be nice to them. They are the press, after all. Actually, my first admonition to you is to savor this moment. You don't get that many in life like it. You get your births, circumcisions, baptisms, confirmations, bar mitzvahs, weddings. But you don't get that many instances when you have a chance to really embrace and acknowledge and acclaim accomplishment of this standing. And to revel in the immense promise that it contains. It's an intoxicating moment. I'm sorry about that phrase for those of you who were misbehaving last night. And I remember a phrase from T.E. Lawrence, who thought he was fighting for freedom about 100 years ago, who was talking about the intoxicating freshness of the world to be. Now, many of you were lucky enough to see the showcase of work by the people here over the past few days. It speaks for itself more persuasively than I can. It attests to their creativity, imagination, technical virtuosity, eloquence, commitment, all of them, I hope, signature virtues of this school of journalism. They're getting their diplomas now, but it's their work that signals most convincingly they are no longer students, they are already professionals and have already outgrown us, which is as it should be. In the past few months, our students' work has appeared as articles, films, podcasts, and media in this state, this country, and abroad. KQED, New York Times Op Docs, PBS NewsHour, Guardian, Los Angeles Times, East Bay Express. This is testimony to the excellence It's also testimony to the hard work of their instructors, the people here alongside me. They not only teach, they help students hammer the work into shape, they coach them on pitching and placing their efforts before the world's pickiest and most discerning editors. So bravo to our graduating class and bravo to their instructors. I want to call attention to the fact we have two veterans in the class, Joe Bush, former Marine and later U.S. Army captain, Gabe Tolliver, former U.S. Army corporal. Welcome to the two of you. I also want to point out that Joe Bush exemplifies another school tradition. He left us in 2008 after finishing his first year and came back now to finish his degree. He's not alone. This year, Bill Whitaker, whom you'll know as CBS 60 Minutes correspondent, he left us in 1979 with his master's project undone. He's now finished it this year, and he'll be graduating with the class of 2017 with a Master of Journalism degree. So certainly the determination and grit of these two deserve special notice. I don't know how well you know the generation that's represented here. I want to call attention to some generational realities. It's very easy for us parents, and perhaps the students themselves, to overlook. A 27-year-old graduate was about 11 years old when 9/11 happened. That graduate was 13 when the U.S. went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was 18 when the market collapsed in 2008. Now, I'm sure there are treatises being written on the vast influences on this generation's attitudes that the looming sense of menace and insecurity had on them, but I have a more modest observation that, in my view at least, these were instances of massive press failure, and yet these students have chosen to become journalists. My generation became journalists at a time the press claimed as a triumph. We were very easy, the Watergate generation, we were very easy to take credit for ending the war, take credit for the civil rights movement, take credit for chasing Richard Nixon out of office. We thought we were really the cat's pajamas. But they enter a profession with a sense of the things that it has not done properly, and a social trust that it has failed to meet, and a determination to do things better. And so for our part, we salute that. To them as they go, we pledge to continue making this school an ever greater, better, more influential part of the national, indeed the world journalism landscape. That means we pledge to do everything we can to make sure the diploma they receive today is an appreciating asset. It will testify to their talents more powerfully with each passing year, will enable them to continue to benefit from the network of creative friends and collaborators they leave behind here and they head out alongside. And it's a mighty challenge for us, for the school itself, for those of us who remain behind. We've entered a new era in which institutions of higher education have got to transform themselves into money-making, money-raising machines. The special problem for so-called public higher ed, they're now calling it public-assisted higher education, you might know, lacks the tradition of giving and the mammoth endowments that our private cousins have amassed. Those of you who went to private colleges know that at the point at which you got your acceptance notice, you also got your solicitation funds, even before you'd paid the first extortionate demand for tuition. But we in the public sector are getting the hang of it, the help of a growing network of supporters who share our passions and share our values. So now, class of 17, you go forth. You got a full roster of terrific speakers who will advise you on what you'll find and what you'll miss. A few thoughts of my own. In the public imagination, the profession you're rejoining has always whipsawed between mistrust and admiration. Mistrust for the press is self-serving and exploitative. Admiration for an institution that has the courage to deliver unpalatable truths. At the moment, thanks to the election of a masterful media player who has made contempt for the press a consistent applause line, the media are getting very pleased with themselves. The nonprofit media are benefiting from a Trump bump in giving. I wouldn't be surprised to see our applicant pool numbers rise, perhaps a reprise of the post-Watergate surge of young idealists into newsrooms. What's more, online digital outfits are rediscovering journalism as they realize it's in their interest to go beyond offering customized tips on the best sushi in your zip code into reporting on matters of genuine public significance. And naturally, that revival is a process that you can hasten. to help restore the sense of public purpose that has little to do with following trend lines derived from social media and a lot to do with the need for a press with intellect, energy, and moral courage. But I want to warn you that when the press starts to feel good about itself, starts to regain its swagger, its certainty that it knows who the bad guys are, you want to start to be a little careful. Your profession requires you to be endlessly willing to poke holes in bubbles and question your own certitudes. The media historians like to recall the good things, the times when the media weighed in on the right side. But yeah, you need to remember that most of the stupid criminal things this country has ever done were done to the cheers of the press. So it's when you're really sure you want to be especially careful. Apart from self-criticism and skepticism, what else do we hope you're taking with you from here? Well, first, skills with which to dive into the workplace and swim smoothly and surely. Second, analytical rigor, the ability to distinguish what's real and what matters from what's bogus at a time when artifice and lies constitute a greater than ever proportion of what the informational world produces. Third, values, an understanding that social betterment isn't something that you need to apologize for seeking. There are people who need help in finding their voice. There are people whose reputation before the larger public has been systematically defiled. These are civic goods only the press can advance. And finally, we hope you leave as members of a community of like-minded colleagues, the graduates who are up here with me now, the alums who preceded you, and the graduates who will come after you. You should carry on as you have here. Watch each other's backs, offer counsel and wisdom, make sure as you rise, so will they. So I close with this reminder. You're the chroniclers, the tellers of the tales, the keepers of the conscience and the flame and the collective memory, the ones who bear witness. When, as with Willy Loman, attention must be paid, you pay it. And 100 years from now, heaven willing, when the stories that resonate and inspire are told around the campfires of the future, they'll be your stories. You have work to do. Make us proud.